is Unmasked.
All right. And we are rolling.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, who are you?
Well, I can give you my little elevator speech, which I learned in college when I went to the University of Arizona for business.
Let's hear it.
I grew up in Kansas, and my entire childhood I was really into acting and theater and threw myself into that. And then when I graduated, I was like, well, I need to make money, listen to my parents, and kind of got a job in accounting and management information systems. Went to the University of Arizona for those two. Now I work in IT audit. But then when the pandemic hit, I kind of thought, why did I listen to that? Like, why couldn't I be that
Right.
3% that makes it? And so I decided to just go for it. And so I did. Now I'm pursuing acting and writing and producing with my production company, Zipps Productions. And yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I'm guessing then the finance and the IT and accounting and stuff, that's not a passion, that's just something that your parents wanted you to get into then?
Kind of. When I went to college, I went to college mostly because I wanted a college experience. I always heard things like, oh,
Mhm.
college is what you have to do.
Right.
You have to have this college experience to kind of fulfill your life in a way.
Yeah.
And so my mindset was, if I'm going to college, I need to go to college and do something that's worthwhile that you need to go to college for. And I was going to business school, and accounting and management information systems are just such technical degrees where you do need a degree behind them to do them, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you necessarily have to do that. You can become an accounting major and then manage a company
Right.
or start your own company. But I did end up going into a more IT audit sector, and I love the company I currently work for.
Mhm.
They are amazing, amazing company culture, some of the best people I've ever worked with.
That's awesome.
But the job itself is just not what I want to do.
Right.
Day to day, it's not what drives me. It's not what I dream about. It's good work, but it's just not that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, acting just, it's one of those things where when I was 3, I was putting on performances for my family.
That's awesome.
And I was doing stuff like that, and that's just always what driven me. I've always been that type of person where I just wanted to act. And
Hmm.
so I always think, like, why did I give that up for a little bit? It was 4 years, but I did,
Yeah.
and I kind of regret it, but then I also don't regret it because I learned many valuable lessons about life and things like that. And now I just came back even stronger than I was before, deciding not to listen to anybody.
That's awesome. So, were your parents supportive of the acting thing, or were they more pushing like, I mean, that's cute and all, but you need to go and have a realistic, quote unquote, realistic lifestyle.
Yeah, they're sometimes supportive. My mom, she's pretty supportive of just living your dream. My dad is also supportive, but he's from that generation where you live a very practical life. You
Yeah.
work with a company for your entire life until you get your pension
Ugh,
and leave.
I
And he
hate
did
that.
that life. And I saw him go through it, and I don't think he was happy. And even now, he thinks about things or talks about things that he likes to do. And you can see him light up, but then he talks about work, and you're not lighting up. And
Yeah.
for me, it's like you work majority of your
Oh,
life.
100%.
So you might as well do something you love.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of like regret from him for not pursuing what he actually wanted to pursue and then seeing you kind of trying to do that? Like, do you see maybe a little bit of envy from him, or is it a lot more of like he tries to shut out and try to be like, you know what? No, I'm a provider, I'm a father. My dreams and stuff don't matter. It's her, or like, does he try to
Yeah.
live through you, do you feel?
I wouldn't say he shuts it out. He definitely is always saying that he's my biggest supporter, which is a beautiful thing. But
Yeah.
he also, whenever I talk about acting things, I'm moving to LA in January. When I mentioned that, he was
Oh,
like,
wow.
don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever do that. And I was like, but if an opportunity comes around where I quit my day job, it's because it's worth it. It's
Right.
because I'm doing it, and I think it's worth it. And he still thinks that I need that practical fall down and that this is more of a hobby for me. I don't think it's got
Hmm.
to him that this is
Like
what
it's a
I'm
full-on
doing.
career.
Yeah.
So are you going, when you move, are you going to just be going to the deep end with acting, or are you transferring and doing your day job there as well, or how's that transition going?
I'm transferring. The great thing about accounting is you can be very flexible with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different companies. And so they are extremely flexible with, I have an audition next week or I'm filming next week and I can't work
Hmm.
and I have to get a day off.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think accounting would be like one of those flexible type of careers.
It became more flexible because of the pandemic.
Oh,
So
okay.
now we work online. So
That
it's
makes
just
sense.
if I make up the hours, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
Interesting. Okay.
But I am hoping to go part time eventually and then just completely leave one day.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
sometimes you do need that paycheck to.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I feel like that needing that kind of safety net or needing that paycheck is definitely a big thing that stops people from pursuing that. Like that was the scariest thing in the world when I made the jump, because I was working in finance for 4 years myself.
Yeah.
And that jump of like, for those 4 years, I had a consistent biweekly paycheck that I knew exactly how much I was getting because I never worked more than the same amount of hours. So I was like, I get exactly this much every paycheck. I can budget. It was like that kind of safety net of, I know how much I'm getting, so I can budget it out and I can do this. Versus like now, I have no idea how much I'm going to be getting
Yeah.
in a given week. I could be getting a bunch, or I could be getting just enough to pay bills and maybe fill my gas tank up once or something. And a lot of people don't want the uncomfortability of going through that. But then on the flip side, the amount of people I've seen that have been in those careers, and because of something like the pandemic or because of just something in the world happening, they get laid off. And it's like, is that really a stable job? Is that really, like, I've seen some of those loyal people that have been with the company 20, 30, 40 years. And just because their upper management made a stupid decision on a contract, or economics, a bad economy happens, they have to let everyone go. And it's like, I've given 30 years of my life to you guys.
Yeah.
What do you expect me to do now?
Yeah.
I have to go back to an entry level type of thing. And for me, it's like those two things really combat each other and really kind of battle each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like my dad went through his entire life working for one company, and they were so close to laying him off 2 or 3 years before retirement.
Really?
And they didn't do it because he had a disability at that time and they needed to keep around a percentage of people that had a disability.
And that's sad.
But they laid off all of his friends.
That is, I'm sorry, but that is disgusting.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, they don't care about him and his family. They care more about the statistics for their company. And it's like, well, up to regulation, we have to keep X amount of white people, X amount of black people, X amount of disabled people, X amount of this. Like, that's cool that we're helping support your family, but we don't really give a shit about that.
Yeah. No, they care more about checking boxes than who the actual person is. And it bothers me because it's like you give your entire life to a company, which is why it's nice to work for yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's stressful, and it turns you a different mentality. Like, the disciplines that you have to have are so much more different when you do work for yourself. You don't have a boss that you wake up and, oh shit, I'm 30 minutes late to work, I'm gonna get fired. It's, well, let's see what I can accomplish today. Or it's, you only have yourself to be accountable for the paycheck that you get. If you're not making enough, then it's like, okay, well, you can't be like, oh, well, it's my boss's fault for not giving me enough hours, or it's his fault for not giving me the raise that I wanted. It's because you didn't do enough work. You didn't get enough clients. You didn't do enough marketing. And so it's that a lot more self. It has its really goods and it has its bads.
Yeah.
But
you have to have that drive.
Exactly.
And it's hard to have that drive if you're not doing something you love, but I feel like if you truly love something, that drive comes to you naturally.
Oh, 100%. So what is sparking this move to LA?
Everyone I've talked to is like, you should just stay in Arizona. The industry's growing in Arizona. And I agree
Mm-hmm.
100%. But a lot of people I've talked to, even in Atlanta or in New Mexico, where they're now filming a lot, they'll hire a lot of the lead actors out of LA and
Hmm.
fly them in. And I mean, it's kind of sad that they do that because there's so
Yeah.
much talent in each of those locations. But I I can't wait for Phoenix to become this hotspot film area and then maybe get a secondary role and then maybe that like launches my career somewhere else. I'm only young once
Right.
and I need to just throw myself 100% into it. Just go for it and see what happens.
So is this kind of a blind thing, or do you have kind of stuff set up there? Do you have like somebody to stay with, or is it kind of more of just you're just gonna take a chance and just go for it?
I do not have someone to stay with. I have a couple friends that are in LA and a couple connections in LA,
Okay.
but it is kind of a blind thing. I'm just going for it, and I know that's pretty fun, I
Yeah.
guess. Um,
Are you worried about like all the competition? Because obviously
yeah.
LA is the biggest hotspot for actors. It has been for decades. Are you worried about like the competition and how saturated the field is and just all that?
I mean, who wouldn't be worried?
Yeah.
There's a ton of really, really talented people that move to LA every single year and
Right.
leave LA every single year because it's a large market. But I don't know. I don't think it's competition.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's more, we're all very talented individuals. And it's more of, can you find what you can do yourself? Like
Yeah.
you're doing a podcast, right?
Right.
If you're not busy getting auditions because you're up for this major role with 1,000 other people,
Right.
give your best performance, do what you can do, walk out of there, say, I just got this amazing experience,
Right.
but then be like, who cares what happens? I auditioned for a major movie role or a major TV show. Like, that's just an accomplishment on its own.
Yeah.
And then go back and write your own stuff. If you
Hmm.
want to be in something, do your own thing. Get some friends together and make something. And then that way you know that you're always going to have work, even though it's not going to be the work that you think that you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I think if you just do that long enough or stay in LA long enough and make those connections with people and just go to enough auditions, eventually someone will notice, wow, this person's been consistently really good.
Yeah.
Or you will find your niche on what you're good at. Maybe it's not acting. Like maybe writing is my true place where I'm supposed to be, or producing is my true place where I'm supposed to be, or who even knows where life's going to take me. But it's just, you have to keep an open mind. So no, it's not competition. It's like a friendly networking
Okay.
is the way I see it.
Yeah. No, I get that. I feel like it's definitely 100% based on your kind of outlook on it, because
Mm-hmm.
if you go there and if you make a jump like that, whether it's in acting, whether it's in music, whether it's in any type of industry, and you're automatically going like, I'm gonna give myself 1 year to become the next Ryan Reynolds, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And like, it's good to have goals, it's good to have that drive and stuff, but there's literally 5% of actors in America make over $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's the statistic right now.
Yeah. Do not get into acting if you're getting into acting for money.
No,
that is a
absolutely
big
not.
thing. You do not do that.
Well, and the amount of actors that I've seen, even in places like LA, that they have to be in the industry for over 10 years before they land their first good role.
Yeah.
And it's not those people that like, oh, I kind of took a break for a couple of years and then went back. Like, those are still the people that consistently like auditioning every single week, getting new agents, getting this, getting that. But it takes that decade of trying to chase it until like Denzel Washington. He didn't get his first big production until he was in his 40s almost, or 50s. And like Dak Shepard, it took him 10 years of being in the business before he was able to actually land that first big production. And so I really think you have to treat it kind of as more of a hobby rather than just a career, because
Mm-hmm.
if you chase it as that career of like money and support and all that, it's going to lead you down to failure. It's
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, well, I didn't get this. And it's, you could go like, I think it was Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
Before she got her big roles in You and Scream and all those kinds of things, there was 2 years between when she finished Disney Channel versus when she started the bigger productions. And she thought about quitting for those 2 years because it's not normal to be rejected for years on end for the same job and continue going.
Yeah.
But then it's the persistence and stuff, and that's a part I feel like a lot of people like that filters out a lot of actors, because a lot of them like, oh, I haven't gotten work for 6 months. Is this the right field for me? Should I try something more practical? They start listening to family. Family starts saying, what
Get
are
a
you
real
doing?
job.
Yeah, what are you doing? Why aren't you're not making any money? You're still working this dead end job. Like, it's cute that you want to be an actor and all, but is this really practical? Is this really something? And it's, but I don't know. I feel like it's definitely a lot more of like older generations and more of just like, depends on your personality too. Some people are just a lot more secure and they're like, I'll just do this for a side job and see what happens, but I want this.
Mm-hmm.
Versus just like, you know what? I'm going to take life by the balls and try to see if it'll happen, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I admire it, though. Like, I would love to make that jump. It's just, for me, personally, I have kind of like a half and half personality with that. There's half the personality, it's like, oh, fuck it, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
just go, let's take the jump, let's do it. The other half is like, the cost of living in LA
It's
is
insane.
like the second highest in the nation. And it's, I don't know, like taxes there are even higher. Like everything there is that much higher and stuff. And it's like, I can barely make that living here in Phoenix. And yes, it is obviously a pretty high cost of living here, but it's still a fraction of what California is.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that that terrifies me. So how does that not terrify you?
Well, part of it is having this amazing job that gives me the flexibility. I am so thankful for it every single day, that they support me in acting and everything, which is also an amazing thing. So that helps a lot, knowing that I kind of have that security there and I have the people backing me on that end. It is scary. I know a lot of people, I don't know if you ever look, like a large percentage of actors have a lot of money already going into it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
And I'm definitely not on that same boat. And I've noticed it over and time again. Headshots are like so expensive, and then
Oh
you
my
try. Just the barrier to entry into this industry is so insane.
Oh, it is absolutely, like, you can't, it is, I feel like it's so much more difficult when it's somebody that has to have a day job, that has to be supporting themselves. Like,
Yeah.
it does take them longer, but I also see a lot more of resilience in them.
Yeah.
A lot more of like someone that's, oh, I'm a full-time actor. And you look at their schedule, it's like they're doing a couple this and a couple that, but like, obviously they're not making a full-time income from acting alone.
Yeah.
But they have the financial backing otherwise, maybe from support from their parents, or maybe from being able to live with their parents. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of the people I see, they're in like my situation or your situation of like, I support myself 100%. And so I don't have, sometimes I do have to turn down a role because I'm like, I have to work that weekend, or because I need money, rather than, and this is a free, like, I would love to do this project, I would love to be part of this production, but it's not paying me anything and I have bills to pay for, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
it's like, obviously there's different advantages between those people that do come into this industry with money versus that don't.
Yeah. And I've actually had to do that before, where I turned down a production because I needed to get money.
Yeah, exactly. And it sucks because you don't know where those productions can lead.
Yeah.
That could be the next.
Could be networking. And
Yeah.
networking is, like, again, so important in this industry.
Oh, yeah. 100%
And
it's who
so,
you know.
It hurts so much every single time.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes that does happen.
So I kind of want to dig into your childhood a little bit. So did you, how like on the financial scale or like wealth level and stuff, like when you were growing up, was it like, did you ever have to worry about bills, or did you ever, like, were they pretty middle class, or how's your childhood?
I would say when I was real young, we were probably like, we were definitely middle class my entire life.
Okay.
I would say like lower middle class, maybe. I My parents did never talk to me a lot about money when I was a kid.
Okay.
My mom kind of held a large burden, and really hope she doesn't listen to this. Same, yeah. So she got divorced from my dad when I was around 8 years old because of financial reasons.
Really?
My dad would tell her that he would make a certain amount of money, and so we would get our clothes at Goodwill. We would budget our groceries. We would be living a lower middle class life. And then turns out later, my mom told me that she found out he made a whole lot more money than that.
Really?
And he was spending it on trips for himself and stuff like that. And that was...
So it wasn't like a cheating thing. It was more of just he just wanted to enjoy the money himself.
Yeah, but he wasn't telling
Right.
his
He wasn't being
significant
transparent
other. Yeah.
about what was going on.
And that's just what she told me. Again, I don't know
like what's
much
all
about
the
that
truth?
case, but yeah, so I grew up thinking that we were lower
Pretty-
middle class
yeah.
and that I had to get my clothes from Goodwill, and that I don't know if you ever go to Kansas. I lived in Overland Park. It's like a LA type vibe where everyone comes into school wearing pink clothes. You have to have designer this.
Really?
You have to, yeah. It's the Scottsdale of...
I would never think of that when I think of Kansas.
Yeah, in Overland Park only.
Okay.
But it was very, like, I was kind of bullied based on my clothes, and people would
Really?
get silly bands and I couldn't get any, and they would be like, well, you're not cool enough to get silly bands. And
Yeah.
so like I would
remember
be
that.
begging my friends for like extra silly bands that they had of the same animal, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, oh, it's like a charity case. Let's give her our second like elephant or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I grew up. You know, it
Okay.
wasn't like that's just wasn't where their priorities were. The divorce hit both of them kind of hard financially as well. So yeah, it was, I've always seen myself middle class. Now a little bit. My mom started doing really well for herself. She's a brilliant businesswoman, really smart.
Really?
And she does sales like crazy. And so she is so good at her job now. She travels as much as she wants, lives in an amazing house in San Diego.
Wow.
Like, she's doing really well for herself now. So now it's nice because my mom and I go on vacations all the time together.
That's awesome.
Super fun to be around her. But yeah, now I feel a lot more comfortable with that whole side of it.
Yeah.
But growing up, it definitely was a barrier.
So how do you think that kind of, with all that stuff, because there's a lot of stuff there that happened.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess there's a two-parter that I want to ask. One, how do you think that shaped your vision or the way you look at things like trust and communication? And then two, how do you think that shaped your relationship with money?
So let me just specify that when that all happened, I still wasn't worried about food and still wasn't worried. And I really believe that we should help anyone that is struggling with that stuff. That is like, you should be aware of any of that stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, I don't want to be like, boo hoo, I couldn't get a silly band.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For what went on with my parents, I don't know. Again, I saw my dad work his job his entire life and feel like he needs to save up all his money. And now he's older and he has a disability and he's unable to spend it on what he wants to do. And he has all this saved up money and can't do anything with it. And so I'm now in the mindset that I need to live while I'm young, you know? I know
because you see that he did that before and now he's not able to. So maybe that kind of mirrored into you a little bit.
Yeah. So it's good to kind of enjoy life while it's good to save.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's good to think about your financials and save aside for retirement and all of that type of stuff. But then there's also at a certain point where if you're on that Amazon cart and you look at a certain top and you're like, this would be a really cute and fun top. Am I not going to get it? The answer is no, you are going to get it. Because sometimes you got to treat yourself.
Yeah.
And I think there's a good line there to kind of learn about not overspending, but not underspending and trying to save up all your money and worry about that constantly.
So what's your line of balance then between wanting to or being able to spend versus knowing that you have to save? Like, do you have like a specific balance, or like how do you kind of talk yourself into that balance of like, no, I'm not spending too much, or okay, I need to kind of dial it back a little bit?
So as an accountant, I do budget every month.
I like that.
I have percentages that go into investing, percentages that go into savings, but then I also have a percentage that goes into, this is your spending money for the month. Have fun with it. And so with that spending money, I can go to restaurants and be like, you know what? I'll treat myself to a little fancier of a meal today.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to the grocery store, and I'm a huge kombucha drinker.
I love kombucha. I got into it like 2 years ago, and now that's like my treat. Anytime I go to the store and I'm grocery shopping, that's my treat,
Right?
is getting a kombucha.
So expensive though.
Oh my God, it's like $3 a bottle, and I'm like,
yeah. But you're like, you know what? Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Every time you go to the grocery store, grab a kombucha.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of fun. Like those little things that would usually be a tedious task. Like for me, I hate grocery shopping with a passion.
Really?
I hate shopping in general. Like even no matter what it's shopping for, just because I hate spending money on tangible things. And especially grocery shopping, it's one of those things I feel like there's just so many options. And for me, I don't personally like to cook a whole lot. I can cook, I just don't like doing it. And so for me, there's just too much of like, oh, there's like a million and one things that I could be getting here, and I don't know what to get or anything, so I hate it. But that's like my little treat of like, you know what, I'm gonna get a little kombucha, and it'll make things a little bit better. Like when I'm at the gym, I don't like the actual feeling of working out, but my treat for that is now the sauna. I'm like, if I can get through this workout, I can go to the sauna for a little bit, and that's like my little treat. So it's like being able to treat yourself a little bit like that.
That's actually an amazing thing for habits. They actually tell you if you ever want to get a good habit, you have to treat yourself.
Yeah, give yourself like a little bit. Because there was I was actually reading the psychology behind those habits and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, even if like, say when you have a trip coming up, it's not even the trip itself that's going to give you the serotonin rush and endorphins and all that. It's a thought of doing it. And so if like today you're like, oh, I'm going to get ice cream, it's not even like your endorphin levels don't even spike when you're actually eating the ice cream.
Yeah.
It's just progressively like the thought of it itself is a reward factor. And I thought that was really interesting. It's not even the actual reward itself that's rewarding. It's the thought of the reward that's the rewarding factor. So that's like a little side tidbit of like psychology that I was learning. I'm like, oh, cool. So you can use that for building your own discipline and for building your own habits and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So this might be a little bit of a personal thing, but I'm curious about kind of the more specifics into your finances. Because for me, like I said, I was in finance for a couple years. And that is, I feel like finance plays so much more in people's lives than people give credit for. Like you said, your parents, that's one of the reasons why the stuff happened between them. For me, money was a huge driver for my entire life. It was literally like, that was the relationship me and my mom had, is you're only successful if you made money.
Yeah.
And even just changing my outlook on money itself has changed my entire life.
Yeah, it does.
It's changed everything, the way I look at spending, the way I look at how I live my life, the way that I look at what work I do. It's like now I'm willing to take a shittier job if that means I'm happier versus getting more money.
Yeah.
Like I technically make less than I did in finance now, but I live a better quality of life. And I'm like, yeah, on my taxes, I show I make probably $12,000 less than I made as doing this in finance, but the quality of life I get to live is much higher. And so like seeing that correlation.
I'm a big history buff. And so I like to study a lot of different moments in history, and it's a human instinct that people are obsessed with money.
Oh, 100%.
It drives everything. I mean, that's the reason we have taxes in specific areas. The government literally uses taxes to incentivize people to do things.
Oh yeah.
There was a tax, I forget where it was, but some king taxed their subjects on if they had beards, right? And so then everyone shaved their beards because they didn't want to spend the money and
Oh,
pay the
that's funny.
tax. So money drives the world. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it literally drives the world. So every human is obsessed with money
Yeah.
because it shows this sort of comfortable life. And I think it's because it's also partially power.
Oh yeah.
So like people who have a ton of money, they're more attractive. Like you can pay more money for creams, you can pay more money
Right.
for plastic surgery, you can pay more money for better looking clothes. And so people tend to see them as more attractive.
Yeah.
And then also like you have more power. Like you can make people do things like the things that billionaires can get away with.
Oh, I know. It's status and stuff. Like they can. There's a reason why celebrities can get into certain clubs and stuff. It's
Yeah.
because like the status. So it's not even just the money itself. It's everything the money gives you. Like if Jeff Bezos were to go into an exclusive club that's already packed out and stuff, I can guarantee you they'd let him in just because of who he is and because of his status, because of his name and stuff.
A really good funny TV show that kind of makes fun of billionaires, if you ever want to watch it, it's
Loot.
It's on Apple TV. It has Maya Rudolph is her name, I believe.
Okay.
She was on SNL. She's really funny.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to watch that. But she makes fun of a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of their disassociation from society, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
But what, like, I think people, the trick to money and the trick to happiness with money is finding the right balance, like we talked about earlier, but also like realizing that it doesn't have to rule your life.
Yeah.
That you don't have to be that really, really rich person who shows off everything. And like I said earlier, if you're going into acting for money, like you're going into the wrong industry.
Oh, 100%.
You should go into business or entrepreneurship, start your own project. Like acting does not make you money. Even like the most famous people in the world, they spend so much on bodyguards and clothes that they have to wear and keeping their image up and PR and all of these millions of other things that they end up with very little percentage at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have to keep up this image that they're rich and then they go broke. Like that happened to Nick Cage a couple of years ago, and you've seen how many movies he's in.
Right.
Right? So it's just, you have to understand that these people are faking it.
Yeah.
They're trying to show this persona like they have all of this, to show this confidence, to make you like them. So why would you try to do that too? You know, like you could fake it too if you really wanted to, but some of the people who seem like the richest people in the world are actually the poorest.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So you have to realize that that's happening. Like people are faking it.
Yeah.
And just be content with, what do you really want money for?
That was a big thing that I kind of had to realize, because I was like, yeah, I made like a goal of mine to make X amount of money by this age, and that is still kind of a goal, but that's also just based off my childhood.
Yeah.
Based off the fact I didn't have any money growing up, and I've seen what it looks like to be homeless, to be eating out of food kitchens, and to doing all that. And for me, that was the most embarrassing and just awful feeling ever.
Embarrassing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like every time, most of these times, people are like, it's embarrassing to be poor, but it shouldn't, because it's like, you need the help. Take it. And we should be here. We shouldn't be like ostracizing people because they are poor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We should be like helping them and welcoming them with open arms.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't even care about social statuses.
I don't even know if it was like, I didn't even think of it as super embarrassing because nobody else knew what was going on other than like my closest friends.
Yeah.
But it was
But you
more,
tried to hide it from them, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I didn't specifically try to hide it from them, but it was definitely more of a internal factor of like, this is not how you support a family.
Yeah.
This is not how I want to support a family. And so that made a huge outlook on money for me, with like, if I can make enough money to where I don't have to worry about bills, I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, I can do fun things, then I'll be happy. And so that kind of made a different outlook of where all I cared about was making money, and that ruined relationships for me. And then I got a bunch of money when I was younger. I blew through it completely. And now I look back and I've kind of sat back and I'm like, okay, if I were to do something like win the lottery today, what would I even do with it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of people, if you don't have a plan for what you're going to do with it, you're going to burn out. You're going to have bad shit happen. I've literally sat down and in my journal, I'm like, okay, if I were to get a deposit of $1 million, like where would I put it? What would I do? Because I wouldn't want it to change my life. I wouldn't want it to change my ability to connect with people. I want to be like one of those people that they have a lot of money, but it doesn't change anything about them. It's just having extra ability for opportunity or to help people. Because for me, I've changed it from I want to have a lot of money to where it's I'd rather have that money to be able to give back to others.
And
And like, because
that's beautiful.
that it's more of also a thing of that's why I feel like a lot of super wealthy people are depressed and stuff, because they take it and they use it for themselves. They hoard it. They think it's this thing that they need to hoard and not give back. When in reality,
they think they need to buy huge houses and fancy cars.
Well, and that's so like being a man of faith as well. Part of that is that money is not yours. That money is not. It's something that God gave you, and that kind of makes me think of a different thing of like, okay, you're a manager of this money. This is not your money. This is money that's been given to you to manage. How would you manage it if it's not your money? Would you go and spend it on going out to eat 20 million times a week? Would you go and spend it on the most stupid things ever? Or would you try to build it up? Would you try to give back like, hey, we can give this money back to this person, or this person could use a little extra money. This person could use a little extra help, or this charity. I found out about it and they are amazing. I want to help them as much as possible. I've seen the CEO. I've seen the way they operate. I've known this person, or I have a friend that's starting a new business. They needed somebody to buy some stuff for them for PR purposes. Like having a purpose for the money or plan for the money, I feel like is something that people need to start doing a lot more of instead of just wanting the money.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. You do. There was a study that came out a couple years ago that said all you really need money-wise to be happy on average was $80,000 a year, which is a lot.
I feel like that
by the way,
depends on where you're living.
it depends on where you. That's why I said on average.
Yes.
Because like in Kansas, it's probably like 50,000 or 60,000.
But for here, it's
cost
probably
of living's
closer
a lot lower.
to almost double that.
Exactly, and it's because the cost of living's going up so much, and cost of living in Kansas is also going up. So I don't even know if that number I just came off at the top of my head, but I feel like when we help out others and like you said give to charities and help out others, we should help them get to that point where they're at a good spot, and then like we could also be good at that same spot. Like why do we need over that amount? Why does some CEO for a big company need over that amount? Like if that's all you at that point they're just spending it on cars and houses and like to take care of your family and to take care of everyone. Like you just need a specific amount, and you just need to know that amount in your head,
right?
And not let it get to you feeling like you need Gucci belts and purses.
So with that being said, then what do you think to live the life that you really want to live from now until you're 70 years old? What do you think a good average income for you that you could comfortably live off of would be?
See, I can't pick a number because there is inflation, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And we don't know how fast inflation's going to be. We don't know what's going to happen in the next AI is
that's true.
It's going to change everything for sure. Like I could lose my job with AI. We could acting could just be completely obsolete with AI.
That's true.
So who knows? But
okay, so I guess I'll rephrase for the next 5 years.
The next 5 years, I'm going to answer it more on like what would I like to have.
Yeah, like lifestyle, tangible things.
Obviously, I'm in the film industry. I'm a producer, so a lot of the money that I do have that I doesn't go into charitable contributions because I do that as well, but it goes into producing films. So I do need a portion of money to produce art, which does add a bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you get that from donations and stuff like that. And then I would say a place to live. Doesn't have to be large. I could literally live, well, I could live in a studio. My boyfriend has his own office where he runs his own company as well, and he needs his own room for his office. So we would have to at least have like a 2-bedroom place, but it could be super, super small. I'd be happy with that. I always love tiny house living.
Yeah.
And yeah, enough money to buy food when I want, whenever I want. Natural food that doesn't have antibiotics and stuff like that. That would be great. And get an extra kombucha every time I go to the store. That's what I need, and anything that would kind of settle that lifestyle. And I think that's what we need to start thinking is like, what lifestyle do you want to live, or what lifestyle is actually sustainable to live?
Yeah.
Not do you want to live, because obviously like it would be nice to fly first class across the world, but do you need it?
Yeah. So that sounds like it would probably need at least 80 to 130 a year.
Depends on where you are.
Yeah, depending obviously where you are, that does change the fact a little bit, but just based off of those lifestyle things, that sounds to me about 80 to 130 a year.
Yeah, which is why it's a lot.
Yeah. So getting a little bit more personal then, I'm guessing you don't make that right now.
No.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is your salary right now?
I don't think I should say that.
No? Okay, that's fine.
Just because there's a stigma about salaries, and I don't know if my company would be comfortable with me saying it on a podcast.
No, you're fine. So then as far as like spending goes, is your bills or whatever, because I know that there's like a ratio, usually of 50, 30, 20. There's different ratios like that. How much of your income then goes to like bills and stuff? Is it like just like half of it, or do you spend probably like closer to almost all of it on like living stuff?
So I would say about 60% goes towards bills, mortgage, stuff like that.
Oh, you
mortgage.
have a house?
Yeah, I own a small condo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's very old, very run down. The air conditioner's about to break, trying to save up for that, which it's about to break in the summer. It's going to be real fun.
Is this something that like you solely pay everything for, or is this like...
My mom is amazing. So right when the pandemic started, you know how all the house prices went down to zero, like very low?
Yeah.
I had enough money to buy one, but I was in a competitive market where multiple people were trying to buy it.
Yeah.
So my mom bought it with cash and then sold it to me for the same amount of money so that she was able to like get it.
Okay.
But so I still paid for it and I still bought it with my own money, but I'm very, very blessed to have a mother like her. And I know many people are not nearly that blessed. Yeah. And that, it's very sad. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm very blessed, and I recognize that privilege. But yeah, so she did buy that cash and then sold it to me for the same amount of money. Yeah. And for any processing fees that she had as well for going through it all. So I paid for it. There are a lot of, and people don't realize this, there's a lot of things for first-time home buyers where you put barely any money down. It's not great for the mortgage that's over 30 years. Yeah. But with how high rent is now, rent is so much more expensive than mortgage for houses. But now interest rates have gone up majorly. So thank God I got into the industry when I did.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a huge thing because during the pandemic, rates were so low. So if you were able to get a house, especially for cheap, you were golden child.
Yeah. And granted, the house has had many issues, and I ended up putting way more money into it than I thought I would, going into my emergency savings to fix some things. But Yeah. Um, I'm very blessed to be able to get it at the time that I got it. I would not be able to do that now. And yeah, it is a lot cheaper than rent, which
Yeah,
is nice.
100%. So I know that so you're moving to LA in January.
Hmm.
Is your boyfriend going with you?
Yeah, he is. He's kind of he I don't think it's his favorite.
Yeah.
He does love the beach and he loves being outdoors. He's a very outdoorsy person. So,
Is he like uprooting his whole life for this, or is he able to transfer most of his life over to doing something like this?
so he runs his own business. It's called
Okay.
Coulter Backcountry. He sells backcountry fly fishing gear.
Hmm.
He's very outdoorsy. He does like hikes across the US, stuff
Oh
like
wow.
that.
Okay.
Um, and he he's just transferring his company, so you can do your company
Yeah.
anywhere. But he does work other jobs, which he will not be able to work when we transfer, which are kind of sad. And he's trying to figure out what to do because you can't just own your own company and then make a
Right.
full-time salary off of it. So he is kind of uprooting, and I feel bad about it.
Is he doing this mostly for you, or is this something for both of you?
He's doing this for me, um, but we have a deal that I'm going to be in LA for 3 years, and then I'm going to hopefully keep a place in LA
Hmm.
and pretty much live there, but then we'll have a house somewhere else. That's
Okay.
what we're hoping, so that he can be outdoorsy and do all that stuff.
And
So we'll see how that works out.
how long have you guys been together?
4.5 years now.
Okay, so this isn't then just like one of those like, oh, we just started dating and now we're just making
No.
this. Like, so it's been a little bit then
Yeah.
that you guys. So I'm guessing you guys had like a good conversation about this and
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to go to LA. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of good opportunity. Was there originally when you guys talked about it? Was there a lot of backlash, or was it like, oh yeah, I'm up for
I mean,
what
he's
life?
amazing. So he definitely was very open about understanding that this is like there's only certain number of places where you can act
Right.
in
Right.
the world. And I was like, well, New York or LA. And he was like, I would die in New York with the
Yeah.
buildings and everything. So LA it is. We're gonna live where he wants to live. He wants to live like up in the mountains in Pasadena or
Okay.
somewhere by the beach. So we're gonna be taking that as a priority. If we can find housing is the question.
Yeah,
That's cheap
that's-
enough with rooms. It's definitely a problem, but you know, I told him he gets the pick on where we go next. So
Yeah.
I could end up in like Montana or something.
Yeah. And you guys are mid-20s?
Yeah, mid-20s.
Okay. So this is then okay, so you guys are kind of just a little bit kind of just going off the fly. For him, is his life growing up kind of similar to yours then? Like growing up kind of middle class and doing that?
Yeah, I would say he was like. So what surprised me when I met him, he also grew up in Kansas.
Really?
Or no, technically he grew up in Missouri because he grew up on the Missouri side of Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
And that's like a very nice area. And it just surprises me every single time I hear about his family how healthy they are.
Really?
Like as a family, it's like the most healthy family dynamic. Like everyone loves each other. They love spending time with each other. And it shocks it because I know many people, and every single person I've ever met in my entire life has some sort of backstory where it's like, you know, financial issues sometimes for my
Yeah.
family, or a can't even talk right now. Divorce and stuff like that. There's always something.
Yeah.
Yet his family is just like amazing people, super smart people, and
Yeah.
super driven, very open, very nice. Like they do all of they give to charity a lot. They just literally the
So they're like
nicest people.
they're like a picture perfect family you would find in like a Walmart picture frame.
Literally. So yeah, it just surprises me every single time.
And do you think that reflects a lot in his personality then?
Yeah, he is when I met him, he's like literally one of the nicest guys. I, I when I met him, I kind of hated men. So you go to college,
Yeah.
you're very demeaned. I don't know if that's the right word. Demoted
Yeah.
in people's eyes if you don't have blonde hair and blue
Right.
eyes and big boobs. You can't get
Right.
guys,
Right.
and it's like you start thinking badly about yourself, and you start thinking badly about your personality, and you start like, I need to change in every possible way and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And guys suck, and guys do a lot of things that are very, very bad to women
Oh,
in college.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I will vouch for that 100%.
Not only physically, but also like mentally.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a toxic environment on that side.
Yeah.
And then I meet him, and it's like he's completely oblivious.
What made you decide to give a chance to him though? Like, because you were in this kind of like men hating mode, and I feel like a lot of women that are in that.
Yeah.
I don't know how a certain guy's able to crack the shell a little bit to be able to go in and show them that not all men are these assholic pigs, if that's a word, or because I've gone through the same thing. Like for me, there was definitely a period of time to where like I didn't hate women, but there's always those cycles of like that first girl or guy is in a toxic relationship with their family, so they bring it into their relationship, and then they play this guy, and then he ends up in this like a thing, and that's what happened to me. I've been played. I've been all over the spectrum, and so like I've been through a period of time where I'm like, no, fuck girls. Like they want to do is play with your heart. They don't actually want to love you. They just want your wallet, or they just want this. But obviously there is like that one person that can kind of get to see through. So what was it about him that you were able to kind of see through this assholery and take a chance on him?
So when I first met him, I was drunk.
Okay.
He was also very drunk. I had just gotten back from a date dash, which I was on a date with another guy.
Date? What's a date dash?
It's kind of like, I was in a sorority, so it's kind of like a sorority's version of a homecoming or something like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so I was on a date with another guy, and it went badly. This guy was very toxic.
Yeah.
Most guys, well, as every single guy I had met at the university was up to that point. Most guys, I wouldn't say everyone, but and then I went to a party with my friends, and my friends, one of them liked this one guy and was flirting with him, but then was like, you need to distract his friend. And so I started distracting the friend.
And what was your distraction method?
I walked up to him and I was like, he was obviously doing aux for the party.
Yeah.
And this was the first time at a frat party I had heard like classic rock. I'm a big classic rock fan,
awesome.
Right? So I was like, oh, are you doing aux for the party? Like, oh, I love this song. I'm a big talker, if you can't tell.
I mean, it works perfect for this, so.
Yeah, so I just started talking to him, and then we realized we're both from Kansas. We realized we both love to read. We both love to listen to things and be educated and learn about the world around us and be open-minded and all of that stuff, and listen to classic rock. And so I think it was actually like a love at first sight situation, and it was one of those things where I had literally gone into that like, I am never gonna love anyone until I'm 27. Like, I'm not gonna try to date again until I'm like 27 or 28. And then I meet him. Like,
it's so weird how that kind of shit works, to where it's like, at that point where you're telling yourself like, no, I'm not gonna try to find a guy or a girl, I'm not going to try to find a partner, I'm not gonna worry about dating, is when you finally find someone. Like, that's pretty much what happened to me too with my girlfriend. And it's very interesting when those kinds of things happen. So what drew you into him the most? Like, what is top qualities that like he has that you haven't seen any other guy have?
He's such a genuine person, and you can tell he really cares about everyone, and it's just something so beautiful. He's also so interested in everything, and I think that's definitely something that drives humans to other humans. I hated in middle school I feel like everyone was like, oh, I'm just not interested in anything. Like, to be popular, you like have to not
Yeah.
like anything.
Yeah.
And I love people that are like crazy, like batshit crazy about something.
Yeah.
I'm like, you do it.
Yeah.
If you are so passionate about something, you should be batshit crazy about
Oh,
that. You should be able to
absolutely.
talk about it for 5 hours. And sure, like his interests are different from mine.
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
That's good though.
But we're kind of like a yin and yang in that way.
Yeah.
And I just love how he's so interested in things. He's interested in learning. He's interested in, like I said, being open-minded
Right.
and learning about different things and different people and different experiences that they've had. And it just helps you grow as a person. And so even though we're so different in our likes, we grow together.
That was one of the weirdest things, especially within the last couple of years, that I've had with relationships with women.
Yeah.
Is a lot of times when you talk to them, they're like, oh, I want a guy that's passionate about their work and that's provider and that's doing all this kind of stuff. But when you actually are that person, they don't want you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the kind of people I was talking to, but the amount of women that I had to go on dates with or talk to or whatever, and then the second I was like, look, I am absolutely 100% dedicated to what I do.
Yeah.
I'm dedicated. Like, I thought I was saying the magic words of like, I'm dedicated to my career, I'm motivated, I'm driven, I do all this. And for me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get, excuse my language, I'm going to get more pussy than anybody because I'm saying all the right words and stuff. And literally it drove every single one of them away.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, what do these women want then? Like, they don't want a guy that's driven, it seems. They don't want a guy that's
Everyone
motivated.
wants something different,
Yeah,
you know? And I've always been interested in, no offense, but really nerdy guys because they are so interested in what they're interested in.
Like, I feel like the women want the aftermath. Like,
yeah.
Like, not women, like, just, not like, I'm not trying to generalize women, but like, average women or like, the women I'm talking about, I feel like a lot of them, they want the aftermath of what the motivation, drive, and perseverance gets you. They don't want to see the beginning stages of it, like, oh, I'm developing this, or I'm becoming an actor, I'm making a podcast, I'm in the middle of doing this, because it can be a disgusting life. Like, I am so thankful I have a girlfriend that understands that my life is a lot of work right now.
Yeah.
Because I have a specific life I want to have later on in life. So right now it's like, I mean, we can have date night once or twice a night, and we can hang out, but a lot of it is going to be saving money, eating in, or a lot of it is going to be doing this because I am working that much harder for this career. And I feel like it is that difficult to try to find somebody that does understand that does be like, you know what? I see your drive, I see your motivation. I want to actually be with you through the journey rather than I want to see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
I want to see the kind of guy that you become. I want to see this, but after you've already become it. So.
And I know it's kind of cheesy for me to say this, but I think that there is soulmates for everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the right person, wrong time. Sometimes, you never know. But I feel like there is someone out there that would like everyone for who they are.
Yeah. 100%.
It just takes some people forever.
Yeah.
It really does. It could take you a whole entire lifetime, or you could not be ready for it when it's supposed to come for you.
Yeah.
But, and there could be multiple people,
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's less of like, people try to find connections based on their similar likes. And I think it's more similar thoughts that you should be with someone. Like, if you're on the same wavelength of energy and of thoughts, like the reason my boyfriend and I work so well is because he's driving towards his company,
right,
saving up money, doing all that stuff. I'm driving towards my company, saving up money and doing all that stuff. So it's like we're both in the same wavelength where we're both driving towards something.
It might be different journeys, but you guys are still.
But we're still doing. Yeah. We're still both there.
Right.
Driving for something and pursuing what we really want to do.
So how do you guys kind of motivate each other? Because obviously, especially in entrepreneurial paths or something, that whole staying motivation, that's all bullshit. Yeah. Motivation is bullshit. I'm sorry, but anybody who's like, oh, you just gotta be motivated. Motivated is the most bullshit emotion you can feel. Because it's discipline that people need to understand is the fact of, in these kinds of journeys, it is 100% being able to do something when you don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And so how, obviously he's not here, so it's hard to ask him. But from what you see, like through your journey on making this company or his journey on his entrepreneurial stuff, obviously there's been days that you guys really don't want to do something.
Yeah.
Especially if it's for the company. If
Yeah.
like, because the companies, that's not just a fun thing. There's going to be bad and good parts about starting your own company or being an entrepreneur or even being a creative.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely times I don't want to go to class, but I do it anyway. There's definitely times I don't want to read a script, or there's definitely times that I'm like, I really don't want to do a rehearsal today. I'd rather go and hang out and watch a movie than go to rehearsal. So what is your guys' ways to kind of power through that?
Well, I've always been an extremely driven person, and sometimes that scares a lot of people because I am a very, like, I wouldn't say type A, but like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get there. Like, I'm going to do whatever I need to get there and do it. And I've been like that since a kid. Like, my parents would always be like, you are the most determined person we've ever met.
Who do you think you learned that from?
I don't know. I think some things are nature versus nurture. Like, I think the reason that I've always wanted to act and perform is part of nature. And I think the reason I've always been driven is a part of nature. Like, I think I was honestly meant to act and meant to be in this industry and meant to be doing this.
Right.
And that's part of what drives me to continue going. My boyfriend's also very driven.
Yeah.
In his own way. We're both, well, I would say he's a big runner. And I think running also helps a lot with it.
Hate running.
Exactly. Running is interesting. I think it's fun up to 6 miles. Anything past that, everyone is lying to you. It is not fun. It is boring anymore. Okay. But up to 6 miles can be fun, like when you are really healthy and getting into it. But every single time before you run, no matter how healthy you are, no matter how long you've run, you are going to go through moments in that run, even before you start the run, where you're like, I really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I really don't want to do this today. You'll be 1 mile in. I really don't want to do this. And you have to keep pushing yourself through. And that's why I think runners are extremely determined, driven people, because they push themselves every single day to be like, I'm going to go farther. I'm going to go farther. I'm going to go farther. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm not going to stop today.
Right.
And my boyfriend's, he's insane. He's literally training for an Ironman right now. Like, that's the
An
type of stuff.
Ironman.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's the type of stuff he
God.
does. Like, again, he hiked across the U.S. He's an insane person. And he's extremely driven.
Yeah.
I'm extremely driven. And I think that's part of what it is. It's like who we are as people just built us up to be as we are. So I think there is a little bit of nature in everyone.
Yeah.
That makes them like meant to do something or meant to feel something.
Well, you said that your mom created like her own business and stuff, right?
She didn't create her own business. She worked really hard in business to build her way up, and now she like works sales, and she's super good. And
do you think you might have learned some of the discipline then from her?
I think I might have inherited some of the discipline from her.
Because that was one
I
of
definitely learned. She's a very, yeah. I could have learned possibly from her. My other siblings, some of them are driven and determined as well, and very intelligent as well. But but I've always had some sort of determination and drive to me, where when I said I'm going to do something, I do it. And my parents always said that I had that, and I think that is a part of just who I am as a person.
And you don't know kind of what sparked that or where that kind of stemmed from?
No, I think it's nature.
It's just something that's naturally just instilled in you.
Like, why as a kid did I wake up every day just wanting to like sing or dance or act, you know?
Yeah.
That's not something that I was taught as a kid. I just wanted to have a boa around my neck and, you know, and it's just who you are.
What kind of thoughts go through your head when you do hit those speed bumps of like, I really don't want to do this right now, but you know you have to? Like, what kind of thought processes or what kind of goes through your head that gets you to actually do it, instead of just giving into the instant gratification of, you know what, instead of cleaning my house today, I'm just going to take a nap, or instead of doing this, I'm just going to do this?
So I am bad about the cleaning my house thing. So there are, like I said, it's not, you're more motivated to do something when you like it.
Right.
And it's something that you want to do. So when it's something acting wise, what motivates me to do it is I'm like, I was meant to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. Um, I've always been driven to it, no matter how many times the world has tried to push me away from it.
Yeah.
I've always been pulled towards it. And I just need to do it. I just need to sucker down and do it. And also part of it is like, you have to think it's fun.
Yeah.
You have to think it's fun. And a lot of people hit this point in the industry where they're just like, I'm not getting any jobs. Why do I have to do another self-tape? And the moment you start thinking like that, it's over.
Like, why do I have to do this instead
Yeah.
of... So, yeah, I feel like a lot
Instead
of it
I
is-
get to
yeah,
do this.
Yeah, instead of I get, like, a lot of it's how you talk to yourself about
Yeah.
it. Like, I remember, I know, especially like with the cleaning stuff, that can be really hard for me, but it's a momentum thing. Like, even this morning, I didn't want to clean it or anything, but like
Yeah.
after you do something simple like making your bed, and then, oh, there's a piece of trash on my desk, okay, and then you kind of build a momentum, like, oh, you get the ball rolling, and then, okay, I can clean this, or I
Yeah.
could do that. A lot of it, I feel like, is just momentum. A lot of it, I feel like, is just start with a small task and then build up to a bigger task. But everyone's different. Some people are like, no, I need to tackle the biggest thing first and then get the smallest thing. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely something you kind of have to learn about yourself, learn how the momentum builds in you. For me, I'm a momentum person. Like, especially with acting, if I go to class, I'm fired up for the rest of the evening to do anything acting, so I can go home and be like, oh, I can bust out like 6 self-tapes and be good. Or other way around, like if I've been focusing that entire day on acting and I've been hitting the mark every time, I've been getting the lines right, I have everything good, I go to acting class and I'm like, I have this in the bag easily. So I feel like a lot of it is just building up momentum, but I don't know, I feel like a lot of people also don't give themselves a human break. A lot of there's that grind set mentality, there's all that of they just don't. Sometimes you do have to give in a little bit. Sometimes it's like, oh, I've been going 7 days a week, training 8 hours a day. It's like, give yourself a rest day.
It is. Yeah, you have to give yourself, well,
But
I'm very bad about giving myself rest days.
I am too. But I realized lately a lot of it is learning how to give yourself a rest day.
Yeah.
Instead of like, some people's rest day obviously can be different, but it's learning how to actually give yourself rest. For me, I've learned that sitting on my phone for 3 hours isn't actually rest.
Oh, no.
Versus, okay, well, I can do some meditation, maybe to go take a yoga class, go to the gym, hit the sauna for a little bit, and I actually feel refreshed. So it's avoiding that instant gratification of like, I just want to scroll through TikTok for an hour and a half versus like, I'm going to do some non-sleep deep rest for a little bit, do some meditation.
Which is the best.
Yeah, the second I found out about that, it changed my life. But it's like kind of learning like, okay, what would actually give my body a rest that it needs versus what do I kind of feel like just doing. So a lot of it is just really getting to know, because it's not a black and white thing for everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what a lot of people miss. Like those self-care reset days are so important, to have a little spa day for yourself, or go out with your friends to brunch and make it like a challenge, like not a single phone at this table. We're all just going to talk, catch up a little bit, do that, go on a random adventure, go on a random hike or something.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is just finding those ways to actually reset yourself instead of I just don't want to get up, so I'm just going to sleep.
Yeah. Getting out into nature helps a lot.
Yeah.
Hiking helps a lot. Meditation is amazing.
Yeah.
I am weird. So I obviously work like a 9 to 5, 5 days a week. But after that, I do all my acting stuff. For some reason, well, not for some reason, because I love it, because it's what I do. It's what I enjoy doing. It energizes me. So that's kind of my rest. Is that weird?
No, I mean,
like writing is my rest time. Writing,
Interesting.
producing, being on set with people, talking to people. Like that's what like this right now is my rest time. And you can talk to my coworkers. They think I'm crazy. They're like, do you ever take a day off? And I'm like, no, I never do.
well, I mean, that it depends on your definition of a day off too, because for me, I'm working all day today, but it's technically a day off because I don't have to do my day job.
Yeah.
I don't have to do, like, most of the stuff I'm doing today, I love doing. And yes, it does take energy. It does take discipline. Like, yeah, I did want to stay in bed this morning, but I was like, I have to get up and I have to do this. But then an
Once
hour
you
or
get
two after you
there-
get up, you're like, oh, I'm awake now. I
Yeah.
don't need to go back to sleep. And so, I don't know. I also have that productivity mindset to where I need to be productive. If I'm not
Yeah.
productive,
it's a bad day.
I'm depressed.
Right? I'm the same way. It's like
I
if I'm
have to
not
do
doing
something.
something, I'll be depressed. Like if I sit on a couch and just straight up relax, like be on my phone, I'll be like, what did I just waste my entire day doing?
That also doesn't mean I have to be working necessarily.
Yeah.
For me, that could be being productive, would be hanging out with friends for a little bit, getting a little bit of socialization in, or
going on a
hike,
working out, like, doing meditation, doing yoga.
For me, being productive just means not just being lazy, not just laying, like, I can give myself a couple hours, like, I'm gonna give myself an hour, scroll through TikTok, scroll through Instagram, do this. I can give myself those periods of time. But those days where I just stay in bed, like, I've had days where, like, I wake up and I go back to sleep multiple times, wake up at 3 o'clock, realize I've just been on TikTok. That wasn't a day off for me. That was just feeling like a piece of shit when I wake up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I haven't done anything
You
today.
feel like you wasted your entire day away, and then you're, like, super depressed about it. No, like, my friends are like, do you ever take a day off? You should not go to hot yoga on Sunday morning. But I'm like, that's how you reset. That's my relaxation day. If I'm on vacation, I want to work out.
Yeah.
Like that's part of my relaxation. Is like going to going to like do yoga somewhere. Like I have to work out every vacation because it's part of my fun. Going on a run at a new place, like the most amazing thing. If you're in some new city, it's just so much fun to go on a run.
Yeah. Like, I feel like people just kind of get mixed up. Like, how is this relaxing to you? Or how does this, like, a break for you? And it's like, well, it's because a break from what I usually do that I don't like as much. Mm-hmm. Like, for some people, acting is the job, so they need a break from acting. For other people like you, acting is the break. So it's like, I get to not focus on numbers and accounting for a little while. I get to focus on something fun and creative. And that creative outlet is their way to be able to reset, decompress a little bit. I mean... For me, there's a lot of different things, and it's sometimes not even the same thing. Sometimes it could be acting one day, other times it's being active, other times it's doing this. Like it's just really getting to know yourself and getting to know like what would be a good reset today, what would be a good way to be productive, but yet give myself a little bit of a break. Yeah. So I think a lot of it is just getting to know yourself.
It is. Yeah. It's getting to know yourself because some people do need veg out time. Yeah. And they should take that veg out time if they need it. Yeah. It's just not who I am. Yeah. It's never been who I am.
I feel that 100%. I feel like there's still so much I want to ask you and so much I want to talk to you about, but I do try to keep it around like an hour-ish.
Yeah, we went over time.
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, I like it when it kind of naturally goes over a little bit. But Erin, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know we kind of definitely hit a little bit of soft points and stuff, and for some people it does get a little bit uncomfortable, but that's something that I like to embrace a lot, is getting uncomfortable, especially in conversations, because that brings out a lot more of truthfulness and humanity rather than just hitting surface level stuff. So I appreciate a lot of it, and you didn't really... I feel like I didn't give you a whole lot of forewarning on, by the way, we're getting pretty down and dirty today.
We're going into all of it.
Yeah, so I appreciate you kind of...
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
I mean, you're being you. You didn't say anything bad about them, so that's okay. But yeah, sorry, Mom and Dad. But we'll definitely have to do this again at some point soon. I'm excited to see, definitely before you leave to LA, because I want to kind of go over more stuff. But even after LA, I'd love to like meet up and see how things are going, because that's still like a dream of mine to go to LA.
Yeah, so. And you should do it if it's a dream. Yeah, I tell everyone, if you're dreaming about something, if you want to do it, just do it.
Yeah, just say fuck it.
Yeah, because you'll never know unless you do it.
We should also do a double date.
Yes, I'm down.
Because we love doing new things, exploring. And like sometimes we like to go out to like clubs or something, but for the most part, it's just experiencing new stuff. Because we're both in Flagstaff.
Oh,
and
really?
So there's a lot of stuff in Phoenix still that we haven't done at all. Yeah. And there's so much to do here. So we should definitely figure out a day to do something like that.
If you have any good restaurant recommendations, or
we
could go hiking or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to let you do your little outro that I told you about beforehand.
All right. Hello, my name is Erin Zipps, and I just got unmasked.
Awesome. It doesn't ever get old. I don't care who does it. It doesn't ever get old. But I appreciate it again, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Of course.